What you're about to hear is a special rebroadcast of the Timothy White Sessions. It's a one-of-a-kind encounter with the late Jerry Garcia and Bob Weir of the Grateful Dead. The show was done in the fall of 1989 at the Grateful Dead's recording headquarters in San Rafael, California. The Timothy White Sessions present Dead on Arrival, The Grateful Dead, a show originally done to celebrate what was at the time the Grateful Dead's latest album called Built to Last. During this special interview session, Jerry Garcia and Bob Weir told the secrets of the band's recording process. They explained how the band's music reflected 2 decades of growth and experience, plus Jerry and Bob revealed the little-known and very humorous stories of their Bay Area boyhoods. And as a special bonus, Bob Weir and renowned bassist Rob Wasserman gave an exclusive studio performance of the song Victim or the Crime. From 1989, Dead on Arrival, The Grateful Dead, on the Timothy White Sessions.
The Beatles are at least as responsible for us being here as anybody else is.
They blew me away. That's why we turned from a jug band into a rock and roll band with the Beatles. The Stones had a little to do with it, but actually we went and saw Hard Day's Night, and that was impossibly attractive. That was it, man. These guys are really good musicians and having big fun, and I couldn't think of anything else worth doing.
I think the first thing I ever probably wrote was a banjo tune I wrote called Garcia's Breakdown when I was a 5-string banjo player. That was the first music I ever wrote. You got to go for the weirdness. I mean, you definitely have to take a stab at it. I'm kind of shopping around for something to do that nobody will like. I'd like to do something like that.
Music seduced me before I came to the point where I had to make any sort of career choices. By the time it was time to make any sort of career choices, there was no question. I was into music. That was it. Working Man's Dead happened so fast, everybody sort of flashed, hey, listen, man, form follows function. Let's simplify.
Yeah, let's try something simple.
Let's make every component as strong as it can possibly be and see what that renders. I've lived my life by that as best I can since then. That sort of changed things for me.
Right, it's sort of a Grateful Dead neoclassicism.
Right.
That was Picasso Moon from the Grateful Dead's superb new Built to Last LP. I'm Timothy White, coming to you from the Grateful Dead's own Club Front recording headquarters in the heart of sunny San Rafael, California. I've got Jerry Garcia and Bob Weir right here with me. Gentlemen, welcome.
Hi.
Thank you.
To see you.
Nice to be here. Nice to have you here is actually what I meant.
Now, Picasso Moon is the one where you got a bit of the idea for the music from a long bike ride?
Well, yeah, during a long bike ride, but that almost always happens to me. At that particular point, I think I was on my road bike on my Spectrum Titanium, headed for the studio here. And I had a piece of music, and then Phil said, Picasso Moon. I don't know why I said that.
Yeah, right.
Something went ding, click, but I didn't really take much notice of it at the time. And then on my bike ride back, I flashed, that's what you want. That's what you want right there for the chorus, and you could build the song around that.
You had John Barlow contribute some lyrics, and also your electronics whiz, Bob Brailov, did his bit. Well,
Barlow worked on the lyrics with me, and Brailov did a couple of things. While I was working on the music, he was busy sitting back saying, no, that's not it.
Yeah.
Go with that, and stuff like that. And then he also came up with a few lyric suggestions, and basically he kept Barlow and me from each other's throats. And
they have sort of an adversarial relationship.
A creative dynamic, I think, is how it's usually referred to diplomatically.
When we write songs, they kind of come at you funny, and sometimes the parts that you normally consider to be the most important come at the end. He writes these songs and everybody in the band goes, huh? What? What? You don't get it until the last minute, and then you go, far out. I mean, like, I'm a real, basically simple melody-oriented, I want to hear how the melody goes.
I know even the Dead have said in the past, it's a constant struggle trying to capture the live feel, the spontaneity, and the new album has those qualities. And I think all the strings of the record are reflected in that first single, Foolish Heart. It's such a bright, chiming kind of a sound.
Yeah, thank you. Like all Grateful Dead material, this material has all been through an evolutionary process. Normally, that process is one where we learn a tune and then evolve an arrangement. essentially. Everybody eventually evolves their parts on stage over many performances. It really doesn't turn into what it's going to become until we've been performing it for a few years. So normally our records are usually failures on that level. They're not representative.
Foolish Heart has a little bit of that Grateful Dead jammy feel to it.
I was thinking of that kind of Pete Townsend acoustic guitar, full chord style for that song. Something between U2 and The Who. It's almost Dixieland. It has that thing of where everybody's playing something. Nobody's just padding, you know what I mean?
Everybody's kind of out of their head all the time.
This is a record about values, it seems to me.
See, I had a problem with that. This is an advice song. This is a song of, never give your love, my friend, to a foolish... let's see, now, is that really good advice? I mean, is that what we want to do? Shouldn't we tell him something like, hey, brush your teeth twice a day,
Jerry, it is avuncular best.
Right. I don't know whether I feel good about giving that kind of advice.
This is our Dutch uncle tune.
But a lot of people have informed me that, yeah, that's good advice. Yeah, hey.
All it really is a story.
Yeah, pretty much. It's a successful song if it brings a lot of things to mind and it doesn't tie you down to any one idea.
Implicit in the story is the notion, at least, that he's probably been through this himself and he's speaking from the depths of experience.
Yeah, and do every kind of crazy thing that you can imagine that you can do. But one thing that you might want to not do is...
That was Foolish Heart from the Grateful Dead's Built to Last LP. I'm Timothy White here in the studio with Bob Weir and Jerry Garcia, the Grateful Dead. We'll be back in a moment with much more about the Grateful Dead, including a special studio performance. Stick with us.
Hi, Dad.
Hey, sunshine.
See, I used 1-800-CALL-ATT instead of 1-800-COLLECT, just like you told me.
Groovy. Because you know how I am about saving things. Trees, whales, money.
Dial 1-800-CALL-ATT for collect calls, and your family and friends will save money every time you use it.
Saving money is a beautiful thing. It's so like green.
1-800-CALL-ATT. It always costs less than 1-800-COLLECT.
For interstate collect calls, promotions excluded.
I have a date. I'm very late. My breath reveals the stuff I ate. My mouth must be fresh and clean, so I'll just pop a quick dentine. One tingling, tasting dentine square gives me fresh breath with time to spare. No faster way to clear the air, and you can take me anywhere.
Dentine helps make your breath feel fresh in less than 60 seconds with a tingly flavor you won't find in any other gum.
So when the clock is running out and you need a fresher mouth, you can quickly make it clean. Just brush your breath with Dentine.
There's nothing like a fun ride. The whirls, twirls, spins, someone saying,
please keep all arms and legs inside the car until it comes to a complete stop.
You're laughing, you're excited, you're in a breeze. No, not the latest steel coaster that climbs 20 stories, plunges downward with G-forces fighter pilots are used to. No, the ride is Plymouth Breeze, the all-new family sedan. It's a little bit more tame than your average coaster, but every bit as fun. So enter the car. Plymouth Breeze is very spacious. That's cab forward design. And Plymouth Breeze comes with what you want. Standard air, AM/FM stereo, and dual airbags. Oh, remember that seatbelt. And here's the best way to enjoy the ride. Not with your hands in the air. Keep them on the steering wheel. With $1,000 cash back, Breeze is a cool $14,300. At that price, people will be lined up to ride Breeze. I suggest the driver's seat for the most thrills. Plymouth Breeze at your local Plymouth dealer. Base MSRP example after $1,000 cash back includes destination fee. Tax extra, dealer prices vary.
Let's return to 1989 to the Grateful Dead's headquarters in San Rafael, California. Dead or Alive, the Grateful Dead on the Timothy White Sessions.
I'm Timothy White, talking with Jerry Garcia and Bob Weir, the Grateful Dead. And the album that brings us here today is Built to Last. It's the follow-up to 1987's In the Dark, and I'm wondering from both of you, did the Dead feel any pressure to follow up that enormous commercial success that In the Dark enjoyed?
You gotta repeat. You guys are the champs, but you gotta repeat.
We can't do it. We're constitutionally incapable of doing it anyway, so we don't even fight it anymore.
We're constitutionally incapable of taking much seriously.
You guys obviously have flourished for decades and never needed to think about something like a hit single.
That's been very lucky for us.
Yeah.
It's really hard to tell whether it matters or not because, our audience has been growing kind of logarithmically anyway over the years, and it's whether the record did it or the audience did it is kind of hard to tell, When you don't release a record for 7 years and the audience is still growing, it's hard to tell whether at that juncture, now there's this many people who will buy a Grateful Dead record, It's been a novelty, certainly.
And as far as having a commercial corridor for our records, if you take us and put us in that corridor and give us a little push, we'll walk right into whatever wall we can find.
Right.
We won't be able to find our way down that corridor. We just can't.
It doesn't really
we
matter.
can't do that. That doesn't work for us. We don't go straight in any direction.
No.
So that's not a viable option for us. What we got to do is take each record individually.
I think In the Dark, though, made it so that we felt some confidence about making our own records again instead of letting producers do it. It can almost be fun.
Touch of Grey, Grateful Dead, 1987. I'm Timothy White here with the Grateful Dead in San Rafael, California, and Jerry, Bob, let's talk a bit more about Built to Last. Brent Midland is becoming more and more of a factor in the band. Let's talk about his new prominence as a songwriter and as a lead vocalist.
He's getting comfortable, I think, is what it is, and he's starting to trust everybody, you know what I mean? There's a thing that you have to go through in the Grateful Dead where if you really love your own music, you have to go, well, it's not going to be the way I want it, but it's going to be good. Brent has always been really good. He's always been really talented. And this record is a chance to show him off, and he's comfortable being the guy in that position.
He has a certain prosaic earthiness, perhaps, that
the rest of us lack.
It's not really my strong suit, nor Jerry's.
That groove in Just a Little Light, it sounds like something that could have been built up live, maybe even right here in the warehouse.
That's this notion, that's the sense of it. Every once in a while you get a flash on a tune and it says, oh, this is going to work good. So this one I thought it would be a good chance for me to imitate the guy in New Bohemians who imitates me.
That's right, I was just going to say.
Oh, I heard this last year. Have you heard that guy that sounds like you? It's really just the sound.
Well, let's hear a little guitar sweetness from Jerry Garcia, a little sensitivity from Brent Midland. Just a Little Light. Just a Little Light from Built to Last. Bob Weir, as you create your music, do you see yourself as a storyteller or as a reporter?
Conjurer.
Yeah, that's more interesting than either storyteller or reporter.
Joseph Campbell labeled me a conjurer one night. He was watching us play, and he said, what you are is a conjurer. And I thought about it for a couple months and decided, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, Joe.
Whenever he said anything, he was always right.
Right.
So I sort of see myself in that role these days.
Magic is what we do. Music is the way we do it.
How do you guys regard the Arista era at this point, looking back at that body of work?
We don't relate to the records, we relate to the tunes.
Yeah.
We actually had some pretty good music, but the thing
we drowned it in frosting.
Yeah, with other producers, working with other producers, it was the thing of us being crowded into their methodology.
Was there pressure during these early Arista albums to get the record out?
We don't put them out unless we get pressure.
Our standard way of doing it is we create a deadline somewhere in the impossible hazy future,
right?
But it's a real firm deadline, and we
then we blow it out, and
then we just ignore it.
We ignore it, right?
And then the real deadline comes where we absolutely
it's the sudden death deadline.
Right?
We absolutely must.
The world's going to end unless you make this deadline, and then we keep ignoring it until panic sufficiently motivates us to actually get to work, and we make most of our records in about a month and a half.
That's us.
And the last 3 weeks, particularly the last 2 weeks, are really pretty hellish.
Oh, boy.
How about Terrapin Station, Estimated Profit, a song I would always want to hear.
Great song. A 7/4 reggae tune. Try that on for size. Don't try this at home. Don't try this at home.
Don't try this at home.
That was Bob Weir's Estimated Profit, the opening track from the 1977 Terrapin Station LP. I'm Timothy White. I'll be back with much more from the Grateful Dead after this.
Hi, Dad.
Hey, sunshine.
See, I used 1-800-CALL-ATT instead of 1-800-COLLECT, just like you told me.
Groovy. Because you know how I am about saving things. Trees, wells, money.
Dial 1-800-CALL-ATT for collect calls, and your family and friends will save money every time you use it.
Saving money is a beautiful thing. It's so like green.
1-800-CALL-ATT. It always costs less than 1-800-COLLECT.
For interstate collect calls, promotions excluded.
I've got less than a minute to be ready, and I'm running kinda late. Geez, late. If I don't brush my breath right now, I'll never have another date. No date. One tingly tasting Dentine square, no faster way to clear the air. Dentine. Now my breath is fresh and clean and all I did was chew Dentine. Dentine. Dentine.
In less than 60 seconds, Dentine helps make your breath feel fresh with a tingly flavor you won't find in any other gum.
When every little minute counts and you need a fresher mouth, you can brush your breath with Dentine. Dentine.
Ah, there's nothing like a fun ride. The whirls, twirls, spins, someone saying,
Please keep all arms and legs inside the car until it comes to a complete stop.
you're laughing, you're excited, you're in a breeze. No, not the latest steel coaster that climbs 20 stories, plunges downward with G-forces fighter pilots are used to. No, the ride is Plymouth Breeze, the all-new family sedan. It's a little bit more tame than your average coaster, but every bit as fun. So enter the car. Plymouth Breeze is very spacious. That's cab forward design. And Plymouth Breeze comes with what you want. Standard air, AM/FM stereo, and dual airbags. Oh, remember that seatbelt. And here's the best way to enjoy the ride. Not with your hands in the air. Keep them on the steering wheel. With $1,000 cash back, Breeze is a cool $14,300. At that price, people will be lined up to ride Breeze. I suggest the driver's seat for the most thrills. Plymouth Breeze at your local Plymouth dealer. Base MSRP example after $1,000 cash back includes destination fee. Tax extra, dealer prices vary.
You're listening to a special rebroadcast from 1989 of Dead or Alive, The Grateful Dead on the Timothy White Sessions.
I'm Timothy White here in the studio with Jerry Garcia and Bob Weir of the Grateful Dead. A few moments ago, we were talking about the early era for the Dead on Arista Records. I'd like to talk about Shakedown Street, a record on Arista in 1978. It was produced by the late lead guitarist for the band Little Feat, Lowell George. Let's talk about that album.
You know, it's really a pity with Shakedown Street that Lowell had to go out on tour.
Yeah.
Pretty much in the middle of it, leaving us to...
and we went to Egypt.
And we went to Egypt and then came back and finished it rather hurriedly.
We were, at the time, we were going with the Arista suggestion that we work with producers, sorta. We were being cooperative. Lowell was the next guy in that series of guys. We liked Little Feat's music, and we figured, well, here's a guy who has to deal with the dynamics of a band. He understands how bands work. And he came around, and he was perfect. He's a good old boy. He's a simpatico, you know.
I interviewed him for the gig.
Yeah, right.
And we went to dinner at the Golden Dragon Cafe the night after there had been a horrendous shootout.
Right. A Chinese gangland shooting, you know. They're still sweeping up the glass.
Still sweeping up the glass. There wasn't much blood around, but there were plenty of bullet holes.
What was the gist of your talk with him?
Hey, sounds like fun to me. How's it sound to you? Sounds like fun to me. When do we get started? That was pretty much it.
Yeah.
But, you know, it was really kind of silly for us choosing him for a producer because their studio records had never done very well for pretty much the same reason
as ours.
They never lived up to their live sound.
Right.
So, of course, we chose him for a producer. But it was starting to amount to something.
Yeah.
And then he had to leave and go on tour.
He came here and fell on it just like we do. You know, I mean, in that sense, he was like a brother.
Shakedown Street, 1978, the title track from the Grateful Dead LP. I'm in the studio with the Grateful Dead, and Jerry Garcia, let's focus on you for a few moments. I believe that your family came from Spain. Do you know where in Spain?
From Coruña, the west coast of Spain. My father died when I was 5.
Well, what's your dad's name?
Joe Garcia. My father was a musician. That was the main thing that I know. I don't know why they came to the States. I imagine it was because of some economic problem or possibly the First World War. I don't know, you know, something like that. They came around 1914. They came to the West Coast. The whole family did. And they're kind of upper middle class Spaniards. There's a whole slew of them, but they don't really have much truck with me. I'm kind of a black sheep. In fact, I'm a black sheep of black sheep. I understand my father was a black sheep, too.
Jerry, what were you like as a little kid?
I was a wise guy. I was a wise guy. I talked too much. I spoke out of turn. And I was a notorious underachiever.
I know you described yourself around the age of 13 as a hoodlum.
I went to Denman at junior high and Balboa in San Francisco, both of which were razor-toting schools. You know, so it was a matter of self-preservation. Either you were a hoodlum or you were a puddle.
Were you part of a little gang?
I was part of a big gang. San Francisco was broken up into 2 loose groups called the Barts and the Shoes. The Shoes were the white shoe guys, the kind of Pat Boone looking, you know, that thing. That was out in the avenues and kind of upscale. And the working class neighborhood was like the Barts, you know, which is like Black Bart, greasers, say. Would be another expression. And again, the city was sort of divided bilaterally like that. And then there would be incursions into other neighborhoods where you'd beat everybody up, or everybody would beat you up, or that kind of stuff. It was war. I spent a lot of time in the Mission Emergency Hospital on weekends, holding my lip together, or my eye or something. Some guy hit me with a board.
When you were both really young, I mean, were you influenced by TV or anything? Did you read as a kid?
I was asthmatic when I was a little kid, so it kept me out off the streets a lot and in bed reading. It probably was a boon for me because I read. Otherwise, I would have been out doing kid stuff.
What kind of stuff would you read?
Everything. I devoured stuff. Ray Bradbury was my favorite guy when I was a kid. Martian Chronicles, that kind of stuff. And I also collected EC comic books, which were the comic books that every parent was afraid of during the 50s. The ultra horrible comic books. Tales from the Crypt.
Great stuff.
They had the most intelligent writing and the best artwork by far. When I was still in school in the city, I went on evenings and Saturdays to what's now the Art Institute. It used to be the California School of Fine Art. And I went there. I was a painter. I still paint, draw, and I do lots of graphic stuff on computers. So I still do a lot of it.
Do you have any favorite artists that fired your imagination?
Paul Klee, Van Gogh, Picasso, of course. Those were my real fireballs. Those are the ones I just loved everything I saw of theirs. Paul Klee especially for the sense of humor. Van Gogh for the incredible vibrance and the madness. Actually, when I was loving rock and roll, I had my first electric guitar and I was fumbling around with my old Dan Electro. That's when I was also going to art school, and my teacher at the time used to play records when we were painting. And he played a Big Bill Brunsey record. And that was the first time I heard somebody play acoustic blues. Right. I heard that sound and I just had to be able to make it.
Ripple, 1970, acoustic blues Grateful Dead style from their American Beauty album. I'm Timothy White here in the studio with the Grateful Dead, and when we come back, we have lots more classic Grateful Dead, more talk about Built to Last, and a special studio performance from Bob Weir and Rob Wasserman when we continue.
If you're still in high school and looking for a solid base to build your future on, listen to what the Army's offering with a delayed entry program. Choose across a range of skill training options and get a reservation for the skill training you'll want after you graduate. Up to a year before you're ready to come in. Sound good? Reserve your seat now in the delayed entry program. Call 1-800-USA-ARMY.
Be all that you can be.
Paid for by the U.S. Army.
Hi, Dad.
Hey, sunshine.
See, I used 1-800-CALL-ATT instead of 1-800-COLLECT, just like you told me.
Groovy. Because you know how I am about saving things. Trees, wells, money.
Dial 1-800-CALL-ATT for collect calls, and your family and friends will save money every time you use it.
Saving money is a beautiful thing. It's so green.
1-800-CALL-ATT. It always costs less than 1-800-COLLECT.
For interstate collect calls, promotions excluded.
There's nothing like a fun ride. The whirls, twirls, spins, someone saying,
"Please keep all arms and legs inside the car until it comes to a complete stop."
You're laughing, you're excited, you're in a breeze. No, not the latest steel coaster that climbs 20 stories, plunges downward with G-forces fighter pilots are used to. No, the ride is Plymouth Breeze, the all-new family sedan. It's a little bit more tame than your average coaster, but every bit as fun. So enter the car. Plymouth Breeze is very spacious. That's cab forward design. And Plymouth Breeze comes with what you want. Standard air, AM/FM stereo, and dual airbags. Oh, remember that seatbelt. And here's the best way to enjoy the ride. Not with your hands in the air. Keep them on the steering wheel. With $1,000 cash back, Breeze is a cool $14,300. At that price, people will be lined up to ride Breeze. I suggest the driver's seat for the most thrills. Plymouth Breeze at your local Plymouth dealer. Base MSRP example after $1,000 cash back includes destination fee. Tax extra, dealer prices vary.
In the fall of 1989, Timothy White traveled to the Grateful Dead's recording headquarters in San Rafael, California, for an intimate conversation with the late Jerry Garcia and Bob Weir. Again from 1989, this is Dead or Alive, the Grateful Dead on the Timothy White Sessions.
I'm Timothy White talking with Jerry Garcia and Bob Weir about their personal backgrounds. Bob, Jerry grew up in the city, but your boyhood was spent in Atherton, California. What was that like?
It was considerably more bucolic. It's like the Bel Air of Northern California, essentially. I played ball. I was a jock. all that kind of stuff. I wasn't much into baseball, except for I really liked Willie Mays. But I was into football. I loved football, and I ran track and stuff like that.
Did you have any other hobbies or pastimes as a kid besides sports and music?
Girls.
Still one of his leading hobbies.
And, that's about it. I did read a little. It was tough, but I did read a little. I'm dyslexic in the extreme and pretty nearly functionally illiterate. I can read the sports section. They never really heard of dyslexia. They just figured I was lazy, which I was. But this is the kind of stuff that you really can't get over. I got decent grades. In fact, in many cases, toward the end of my school career, I started getting good grades.
A lot of times if you're dyslexic, you develop a good memory. You pay attention to what you hear, and you learn stuff that way.
And so I managed to stay awake for at least half my classes and got A's and stuff like that. I got to be fairly roundly hated for it because I didn't take books home or anything because there was no point. I was good at English and literature and history. I liked history. I found it fascinating.
What did your dad do for a living?
What he did was he designed heating and cooling systems for big buildings, hotels, factories, whatever.
And how about the Weir family tree?
Scottish and German, I think. But I was adopted. It was a great family to be adopted into, I'll say that. On the Weir side of the family, it goes back to the Mayflower, believe it or not. And actually, it wasn't the Mayflower. It was the third ship after the Mayflower. And I'm related to a guy named Benedict Arnold, who not the Benedict Arnold, but a guy who was governor of Rhode Island.
What are your mom and dad's names?
Eleanor and Frederick. And Eleanor, my mom was born in Switzerland.
Bobby, did you ever hold down any jobs outside of music?
I ran away to be a cowboy once when I was 15, and that was interesting. I had gone to school with a guy whose parents owned a ranch. And they offered me a job.
What was the name of the school?
Fountain Valley School in Colorado Springs in Colorado. And so I just sort of skipped town, and my folks found me, and then they became fast friends with my buddy's folks.
The buddy is Barlow.
Right.
I thought I'd bring that up for your listeners out there. Barlow spread is one of the last of the land and cattle baronies, the pre-oil and steel wealth of the West, So he was a remnant of old West.
But they had you guys starting at the bottom.
Yeah, lived in a bunkhouse, got up way too early, did work that was unpleasant and hard, and I did the unpleasant stuff that the cowboys wouldn't do. Like, I shoveled lots of stalls.
Were you happy to get found when you got found, or?
No, actually, I was almost happy doing that.
Me and my uncle went riding down.
I'm Timothy White here with Bob Weir and Jerry Garcia, and we'll be back with a lot more from the two of them after this.
Hey, Mom.
What's up, my man?
I just saved you more money by using 1-800-CALL-ATT instead of 1-800-COLLECT.
Excellent. Now you're speaking my language. Riding in my taxi. Tuning into my frequency.
Dial 1-800-CALL-ATT for collect calls, and your family and friends will save money every time you use it.
Toting my handbag. Ooh, catching my brainwave.
Okay, Mom, I get the picture.
1-800-CALL-ATT. It always costs less than 1-800-COLLECT.
For interstate collect calls, promotions excluded.
I'm leaving very soon for a rendezvous, but I had lots of garlic in my stew. Have you any idea what bad breath can do? Brush it clean with Dentine. One tingly tasting Dentine Square gives me fresh breath with time to spare. No faster way to clear the air. Brush your breath with Dentine.
In less than 60 seconds, Dentine helps make your breath feel fresh with a tingly flavor you won't find in any other gum.
When you're running late but your breath can't wait, brush it clean with Dentine.
Brush it clean.
Dentine.
Let's talk high-tech. Let's talk today's Army.
I work in air defense artillery on the Patriot missiles team. I analyze radio and satellite data transmissions and perform airspace surveillance. I compute coordinates, I guide missiles, track enemy aircraft.
This soldier is preparing for her future career by getting high-tech experience now. What about you? Maybe you should consider today's Army. Call 1-800-USA-ARMY. Paid for by the U.S. Army.
Let's return again to 1989 for Dead or Alive, The Grateful Dead on the Timothy White Sessions.
I'm Timothy White talking with Jerry Garcia and Bob Weir about the Dead's Built to Last LP. But we're also talking about their personal backgrounds. Jerry, a lot of people may not realize you were in the Army in the pre-Vietnam draft era. How did you feel being in uniform back then?
When you're 17, the Army, you can handle it. For as long as I was in for about 9-10 months.
Well, why so short?
Because I got kicked out.
Why'd you get kicked?
I see a pattern emerging.
Yeah, you get the idea now?
Not good soldiering material.
No, right. You get the idea. It's pathological anti-authoritarianism.
I'll tell you what, I went to 7 schools, and I was kicked out of every school I ever attended.
Yeah, right. And I joined the Army to avoid going to jail. It's just one of those things where I finally used up everything. My mother moved me up to Cazadero on the Russian River, and I went to Annalee High School up. This is after being in San Francisco, because things were just getting too intense there. And then I started cutting school up there. So things were just, catching up with me. So to me, at the time, which is, of course, stupid, the Army looked like, well, I'll show them. I'll join the Army, My mother said, great. She signed the papers for me, and I went into the Army. The ironic thing is that I didn't get out of California. Consequently, I cut school from the Army, too, which is one of the reasons I got kicked out. Fort Ord is as far as I got. I did my basic training at Fort Ord, and then they stationed me in the Presidio, which is where I lived, San Francisco, which is really stupid.
You did bring your guitar in the Army, though,
Yes, I did. I brought Silvertone, Sears, Harmony. Electric, I was self-taught, and I never even met another guitar player, actually, until I got into the Army. I met a guy who played a little bit of fingerstyle. I was totally fascinated by it. And, of course, this was a guy who was like trouble incarnate, and I hung out with him and got into 10 times more trouble. He was a liquor store hold-up man, one of those kind of guys, I started hanging around with him, and things got so deep. One time he turns up with this other guy down at, when I was staying with one of my friends in East Palo Alto. He turns up with a stolen car. Him and his friend have suits, and they're packing iron. They just done a series of bank robberies. That was it for me. And being in the Army is like having a bad job once you're out of basic training. They're very tough about things like showing up for the morning roll call trip, you know what I mean? That reveille, they call it. And if you're not there, that's called AWOL, So you pile up about 9 or 10 of those, and, it doesn't look good on the record. And I was assigned to a headquarters company, which is the ultimate padded work, you know what I mean? Nobody does anything. There's no work involved. It's a showpiece company. The guys there have jockeyed for years to be stationed permanently at the Presidio, and they don't want any trouble of any kind. So I was there for about 3-4 months. And the commanding officer just said to me, Garcia, how would you like to get out of the Army?
Jerry, are you happy you're in the Army?
I said, well, yeah, okay. Yeah, I've seen enough.
Red and white.
U.S. Blues, Grateful Dead, 1974, from the Morris Hotel. I'm Timothy White here with the Dead, and when we return, we'll hear that special studio performance from Bob Weir and Rob Wasserman. Don't go anywhere.
Nothing like a fun ride. The whirls, twirls, spins, someone saying,
please keep all arms and legs inside the car until it comes to a complete stop.
You're laughing, you're excited, you're in a breeze. No, not the latest steel coaster that climbs 20 stories, plunges downward with G-forces fighter pilots are used to. No, the ride is Plymouth Breeze, the all-new family sedan. It's a little bit more tame than your average coaster, but every bit as fun. So enter the car. Plymouth Breeze is very spacious. That's cab forward design. And Plymouth Breeze comes with what you want. Standard air, AM/FM stereo, and dual airbags. Oh, remember that seatbelt. And here's the best way to enjoy the ride. Not with your hands in the air. Keep them on the steering wheel. With $1,000 cash back, Breeze is a cool $14,300. At that price, people will be lined up to ride Breeze. I suggest the driver's seat for the most thrills. Plymouth Breeze at your local Plymouth dealer. Base MSRP example after $1,000 cash back includes destination fee. Tax extra, dealer prices vary.
I have a date. I'm very late. My breath reveals the stuff I ate. My mouth must be fresh and clean, so I'll just pop a quick dentine. One tingling, tasting dentine square gives me fresh breath with time to spare. No faster way to clear the air, and you can take me anywhere.
Dentine helps make your breath feel fresh in less than 60 seconds with a tingly flavor you won't find in any other gum.
So when the clock is running out and you need a fresher mouth, you can quickly make it clean. Just brush your breath with Dentine.
Again, let's return to 1989 for Timothy White with his special guests Jerry Garcia and Bob Weir.
Have you guys ever made an album that you wouldn't dare release for some stylistic reason?
They're cuts.
Yeah, they're cuts. We did Barbed Wire Whipping Party, which is out anyway. Fans have it. They do have it. Fans have it.
That's bad news.
it's not exactly a song. It's more a
For the
lunatic
love of God,
babble
don't
rave.
play it for
You
your
know,
kids.
In fact, it's not music at all.
It's somewhere in the performance poetry.
Right. It's a
space.
performance piece of some kind. Yes, right. Mickey's done like telephone albums. He's got a bug album that's hilarious. An album about insects, the war on insects, you know. That's got all these songs about insects, and it's pretty strange.
He had big plans about it. There is good stuff. We probably have 15 or 20 versions of the Mexican hat dance.
Yeah, and the Frozen Lager.
The Frozen
was
Lager,
another big
right.
hit around here.
Now, is there any track that underwent a complete transformation from when you started to fool with it and then when you got a version that you were satisfied with?
Some are more
Victim
like
of the Crime.
Victim of the Crime
came out the most different.
Probably.
It took me a while to endear the rest of the band to the basic gist of that
Just
song.
about like pulling teeth.
From the first line where we used the hideous J word to
we wanted him to sing
Junker.
Patience runs out on the bunny. He wouldn't do it.
Patience runs out on the monkey. It just doesn't do it. So we came up with whole other lines aplenty, and nothing really did it. We stuck with it.
This was an audience freeze song. You know, this is where you can see the smiles kind of dissolve. You know?
They stopped
What?
dancing and everything.
There's 10,000 people with big question marks over their heads. It turned out to be a really wonderful
it had an
angst composition.
Post-adolescent middle angst.
Well, we're talking about Victim or the Crime, a track from Built to Last. But Bob Weir and bassist Rob Wasserman have put together a special studio performance exclusively for this show. So let's listen to their own acoustic rendition of Victim or the Crime.
Patience runs out on the junkie. The dark side hires another soul. Did he steal his fate or earn it? Was he force-fed? Did he learn it? Whatever happened to his precious self-control? Like him, I'm tired of trying to heal this tomcat heart with which I'm blessed. Is destruction loving's twin? Must I choose to lose or win? Maybe when my turn comes, I will have guessed. These are the horns of the dilemma. What truth is proof against all lies? When sacred fails before profane, the wisest man is deemed insane. Even the purest of romantics compromise. What fixation feeds this fever as the full moon pales and climbs? Am I living truth or rank deceiver? Am I the victim or the crime? Am I the victim or the crime? Am I the victim or the crime? Or the crime? And so I wrestle with the angel to see who'll reap the seeds I sow. Am I
the driver or the driven? Will I be damned to be forgiven? Is there anybody here but me who needs to know what it is that feeds this fever as the full moon pales and climbs? Am I living truth or rank deceiver? Am I the victim or the crime? 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 Or the crime?
Just excellent. That was Bob Weir and Rob Wasserman giving us a special acoustic performance of a song called Victim or the Crime. Unavailable anywhere but here. Well, gentlemen, Jerry, Bob, I'd like to wrap up by playing another Brent Midland song from Built to Last. It's called I Will Take You Home, and it sounds like a song about love's ability to be a protective force.
I go along with that. It's an authentic emotion. It's one of those things where I almost didn't want to do anything with it because it's so delicate. It works perfectly well just with Brent and the piano.
Well, it'll be exciting to see the song grow as the years go by. That's what you can always count on with a Dead song. It's really so much a part of the fun of the band itself. But let's listen to I Will Take You Home, Grateful Dead, Built to Last. Jerry Garcia, Bob Weir, thanks so much for spending this time with us, sharing all these great stories about the Grateful Dead and yourselves.
Thank
really
you.
Appreciate it.
All right.
You've been listening to Dead on Arrival, the Grateful Dead on the Timothy White Sessions. This program was produced exclusively for Westwood One by Andy Denmark and Timothy White. Special thanks to the Grateful Dead's management and everyone at Arista Records for their help. And a very special thanks to Bob Weir and the late Jerry Garcia for believing in the magic that created the music. Rock Lives, the Timothy White Sessions, is based on the book Rock Lives, Profiles and Interviews, published by Henry Holton Company, available in bookstores everywhere. I'm Dia Stein. Thanks for being with us, and keep listening for the next edition of the Timothy White Sessions from the Westwood One Radio Network's executive producer, Norm Pattis.